So our second speaker is a Madeira resident, Mark Holland. He's a longtime resident here. He is an active member of the St. Gertrude Parish, and his story is going to take us back to 1969. It is called Wind and Fury. So let's give a whistle for Mark here.
Hello. I have some photographs that I'm just going to pass out so you can look at these. Here's some over here. So how many people were in Madeira in 1969? Oh, that's a good crowd. Good. Good, so you can tell me what happened. I was not here at the time, so I'm telling his story. And I'll start out by saying, where were you on August the 9th, 1969 at 7 p.m. over 56 years ago? I was 16 at the time. I lived in Finneytown, and we moved that Saturday to Indian Hill. And my family, the moving truck had just left, and you know when they leave all the boxes, right? So we've got all these boxes at our house, and we're going to unpack them. Except, as we were unpacking, the electric went out. All of our flashlights and everything were packed. We didn't know where anything was, you know? So it was like, it was a terrible night for us. We didn't realize what was going on at the time because we were involved in trying to get moved in. So my story starts with St. Gertrude Parish, the summer festivals. They were a tradition for decades. The festival of August 1969, however, was strikingly notable. That was the year of the big tornado. And if you've been listening to the news lately, the last couple nights, all they've been talking about is tornadoes, right? So on Saturday, August the 9th, parishioners were enjoying music and food and the festival and games, and the sun was shining. It was a beautiful night. Without a warning, a dark cloud menaced overhead, and at 7:05 p.m., the tornado ripped through the parish grounds. People didn't know where to go or what to do, so they ducked under a big food tent for shelter. But the fierce winds collapsed the tent on top of them, catching 100 people under the tent. Some 50 to 60 people were rushed to the hospital after being trapped, and 3 of them received serious injuries. Firefighter Teddy Bear, at the time, ran around and checked the grills to make sure that the grills were out so there wasn't going to be a fire. And he ended up staying the night at St. Gertrude's on the ground, making sure everything was okay. The damage was so bad that 2 trucks from St. Gertrude's were deposited on Madeira Hills Drive, just up in the air and took off like a plane and landed over there. There was no apparent damage to St. Gertrude's Church or the school, except for the cross on top of the bell tower was bent from the high winds. Madeira Mayor Dan McDonald at the time sealed off the city shortly after the storm hit to prevent looting. The tornado struck and was gone so fast, leaving Madeira devastated and many of the streets impassable and power outages over the entire community. I was really surprised some of these pictures that I found. It was like, I didn't realize it was that bad. You know? Areas hit the hardest were St. Gertrude Festival, Juniper View Lane, Miami Avenue, Dawson Road, Camargo Road, and Shawnee Run Road. I live on Juniper View Lane right now. I've lived there for 38 years. And my neighbors next door, when they moved, the Suttons, Sue and Bill Sutton, they gave me some pictures that were taken on Juniper View Lane. And there were roofs off of houses over there for a block. It was just amazing. Right where I live now. The house and the roof came into the pool in the back of my house. Now, I wasn't living there at the time, but it was in the pool. So the next day, Ohio Governor Rhodes sent in the Ohio National Guard into Madeira to help with the damage and everything. The parishioners remember that the entire Madeira neighborhood had pitched in to help clean up the aftermath of the storm at St. Gertrude's. And then I don't know if I'm saying this guy's name right, Frank Boswick?
Yeah.
Is that right? At the time was the president of the Madeira School Board. Frank personally organized a benefit for St. Gertrude, which brought in more money than what the festival was expected to even bring in. On Sunday, the storm was said to be the most destructive natural disaster ever to hit the Cincinnati area. It touched down first in Hartwell, headed up Galbraith Road, demolished McIntosh Restaurant, a Burger King, Lakeshore Drive Apartments, if everybody remembers any of that. In lightning speed, the tornado traveled through Amberley Village, Kenwood, Madeira, Indian Hill, and Terrace Park. The tornado had killed 4 and left damage that was estimated at $20 million. So the next story I have is the Fury. Okay? Athletics have played a prominent role at St. Gertrude School, molding character, teaching teamwork, and building pride in games well played. The bulging trophy case and the banners lining the gym walls attest to the youthful successes at the St. Gertrude sports teams. In 1950, St. Gertrude School football program earned their first CYO city championship. And then in the mid-1990s, St. Gertrude School joined with St. Columbian because it lacked sufficient enrollment to field a football team. Some of the key players were wide receiver Jimmy Woods and quarterback Keith Jackson. The combined squad with parishioner Pete Kimmener as the line coach and Kevin Graham as the head coach, Kevin's right here, established the longest undefeated streak in Cincinnati's CYO record books with 32 undefeated games in 1995, 1996, and the 1997. And that record still holds true today. And I have to give this disclaimer. Please note that I tried to find other sports records, girls' records and other guys' records at St. Gertrude, but I was unable to find any recording. Lack of recording, I guess is what I should say. And the records that I just talked about were records that people had come up to me and told me about. And the next thing I'm going to say is, why did St. Gertrude ask me to tell these stories? In 2023, St. Gertrude Parish was going to be celebrating the 100th anniversary. In 2020, I suggested that we produce a 100th anniversary book. And yes, I became the chairman of the book committee. That's what you get when you suggest something that's good. So I had a great committee of 12 parishioners. Father John Paul Walker became our new pastor in July of 2022. And for the 100th anniversary, we had a book. And the book is this book. This is the book that we came up with. And St. Gertrude would like to offer everyone in attendance a copy of this book. of our 100th anniversary book at St. Gertrude Church, the first 100 years. So we've been around for 100 years in Madeira, long time. So afterward, just stop by, and I probably have a book for everybody that would like one. Thank you.
Love the cover of that book. It's beautiful. Could be an art piece just in itself. That's a good coffee table book, folks. People can leaf through it. Well, thank you so much, Mark. That was great to hear about both the tornado. I mean, not great that there was a tornado, but the story was really interesting. Those pictures, I can't wait to see a little bit more. I love hearing about how the community really came together, right? That's such a trademark, I think, of Madeira.